Sony never wanted the public to know about something that occurred behind the scenes at Jeopardy. In 2023, music execs were incensed when Mayim Bialik left the set. She believed she was acting appropriately. Rather, she lost $2 million and her job. She kept the true tale a secret for more than a year. Then, in 2025, she was unable to remain silent. The brutality of Hollywood music is revealed by Mayim's eventual admission about her termination. Game shows are not the only aspect of this. In Hollywood, it's all about retribution and power. On December 12, 1975, Mayim Bialik was born in San Diego, where her parents, Beverly and Barry, attempted to create a modest life influenced by their history as Jewish immigrants. Their families had arrived in the Bronx with nothing but hope after traveling from Poland, Czechoslovakia, and Hungary. Barry experimented with music, small business ideas, and created stories. Long before Mayim knew what a stage was, Beverly took her to small theater productions and taught her drama. The family relocated to music, Los Angeles when she was just a toddler. But because it was the beginning of her narrative, San Diego remained in her heart. It was a simple life. There was nothing, music, about her early years that hinted at renown. But in 1988, when she was 12, she made her acting debut in the movie Pumpkinhead. It was a minor part, but music was a real start, based only on familial love and a silent drive for artistic expression. Her life was intertwined with something more significant than her early audition experiences. The renowned Hebrew poet Mayim Bialik, who was born in 1873, was intimately related to her family. After publishing his debut poem in 1892, he rose to prominence as a Jewish identity icon. Mayim always carried this tradition with her, not as a burden, music, but as a part of her. She claimed that because Mayim Bialik and her great-grandfather were first cousins, the relationship was closer than most people realized. Her identity was created by that connection, music, which followed her through every decision she took, from acting to neuroscience, giving her a sense of connection to something timeless and significant. She had a complex life because she grew up in Los Angeles. Her family practiced Reform Judaism. The family employed Yiddish phrases in music on a regular basis, maintained kosher, and burned candles on holidays. She navigated a more secular environment at school, where children occasionally did not comprehend her traditions. She was occasionally perplexed by that mix, but it also opened her eyes to the ways that identity and music may bend without breaking. She participated in fellowship groups, attended Hebrew school twice a week, and assisted with synagogue activities. After lengthy rehearsals or family get-togethers, she would do her studies at night. She learned how to strike a balance between tradition and the rapidly changing world around her from these compositions, which merged into a way of music, life. There were difficulties in music, life at home. Out of 3 brothers, including David and Brian, she was the lone girl. They had a close but turbulent relationship. She occasionally felt invisible because she was the only sister. Being the odd one out made her consider the mind, behavior, and music, as well as the reasons behind people's actions. Later, this became the main subject of her doctoral studies at UCLA, where she spent hours attempting to comprehend human behavior while researching Prader-Willi syndrome. Her early loneliness and her relationship with her brothers influenced how she raised her own kids, constantly attempting to provide them with the emotional support she wished she had better understood as a child. The finances were tight. The family was under strain as a result of Barry's unsuccessful business endeavors. They occasionally hardly had enough money to send Mayim to tryouts. Because they believed in her, friends and family would cover her travel expenses. She was grounded by her parents. She never let acting get in the way of her regular life or her assignments. At home, fame meant nothing. They encouraged her to pursue an education and taught her to be thankful for every chance. Long before she ever appeared in front of a camera, those difficulties taught her to be frugal with money and to be resilient. When she played the younger version of Bee at the age of 11, she got her big break. Midler's role in 1988's Beaches. The film became a famous tearjerker after its December 21, 1988, premiere. Mayim went to auditions every week for 4 months. To look like Midler, she used brown lenses and a red wig. As a mentor to the young actress, Bette Midler even rehearsed portions of her singing and dance performance. The filming was really demanding. Music, long days, hot makeup, big wigs, and short naps in her trailer. Fans still recall the scene beneath the boardwalk, which was shot on a set in Los Angeles. Wind Beneath My Wings, the film's theme song, earned 2 Grammy Awards in 1990 and peaked at number 1 on the Billboard Hot 100. Mayim acknowledges that beaches transformed her life, even though she occasionally cringes at her performance today. There had been previous steps before beaches. She received a SAG card for her portrayal of Ellie in Beauty and the Beast in 1987. She was among the youngest actors in that era to achieve that feat. She used the tales she had heard at home to inform her improvised lines about poverty and adversity. She displayed a gravity uncommon for a kid performer to moments that dealt with homelessness and bereavement. She became aware of what television storytelling may be like as a result of that encounter. She played tough orphan Jennifer Cole, who spoke her mind, in 2 episodes of The Facts of Life in 1988. During season 9, these episodes aired in late April and early May 1988. In addition to helping her learn how sitcoms operated behind the camera, the part TYP cast her early as the feisty orphan youngster. Her skill started to show, and her snappy delivery soon caught people's attention. She concurrently portrayed Frida in 8 Webster episodes from Music, 1988 to 1989. It wasn't always a nice set. Some of the children teased and bullied Ma'am. She began treatment for the first time at the age of 13 because the pressure from the music got so great. She first learned about the emotional burden that young actors frequently bear behind their smiles during those sessions. It would stick with her for Music years and eventually motivate her to discuss mental health in public. During that time, Pumpkinhead was also released. Filmed in 1988, it debuted in the US on January 13, 1989. She had a little role as Christine Wallace, which ended in the film's first scene. Particularly for a 12-year-old, the realistic and terrifying horror effects were impressive. She was shaken by the sight of monster suits, blood packs, and the gloomy mood on set. Later, she claimed that the music caused her to reflect on the stories she wanted to tell and the bounds of her emotions. She wanted greater control over her job now that these experiences were behind her. She created her own audition tapes at home and sent them to producers because she felt pressured by agents to do so. She was one of 7 girls invited to try out for Blossom Russo in 1990. Her audacity paid off. The appropriate people were drawn to her amateur tapes. Her life was drastically altered when the pilot was filmed and shown in 1991. At the age of 14, she became Blossom. After its July 5, 1990 launch, the show swiftly gained popularity, peaking in 1991 and 1992 with over 14 million viewers per episode. From 1990 to 1995, a total of 114 episodes, Music, were filmed over its 5 seasons. She worked on the set, Music, from 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. while her friends were in school. Fame spread quickly. With that, anxiety increased. Even though millions of people watched her every week, she felt alone. The cheerful sets, Music, did not convey the weight of being a teenage celebrity. Blossom gained recognition for its poignant narratives. The program discussed family issues, divorce, and alcoholism. Tales that mirrored the stress in Mayim's own household. When she was about 15, her parents were divorced. Fearful of tabloids, she concealed her personal suffering from her fellow cast members. She claimed in a 2019 interview that she was gloomy and melancholy throughout filming, virtually using the part as a barrier to hide her inner feelings. She found that acting was both a coping mechanism and a source of exhaustion. The external pressure grew as Blossom, Music, gained popularity. To get media attention, producers used fictitious relationship rumors about her and Joey Lawrence. Paparazzi set up camp outside her family's house in 1992, taking pictures of an adolescent who just wanted some peace. Later, she described the invasion as overwhelming and terrifying. Joey Lawrence has stated repeatedly that their relationship was merely friendship. However, the rumors kept the performance in the public eye and made both of them American adolescent idols. She took home the Young Artist Award for Best Young Actress in 1991. In the early seasons, she only made roughly $15,000 per episode despite that accomplishment. Compared to many young actors at the time, it was less. Rather of using it for luxury, she put the most of it aside for education. Her perspective on money was influenced by this, and she went on to publicly discuss wage equity in Hollywood. She discovered early on that financial stability was not always a guarantee of fame. She faced a new task after Blossom ended in 1995. She was only perceived by casting directors as the intelligent, awkward girl she had portrayed for 5 years. She was given more than 20 jobs that were similar to music. She refused to be confined to a single character, so she turned them all down. She left Hollywood at the age of 19 to pursue studies in neuroscience, Hebrew, and Jewish studies at UCLA. Fans were taken aback. At the time, it seemed inconceivable that a teenage star would vanish for books and labs. Her passion was music in academia, but she continued to do little music voice jobs to make ends meet, such as portraying Lola on Hey Arnold from 1996 until 2002. She avoided performing live and allowed herself to disappear on a 12-year acting hiatus, which allowed her to discover her identity without the stigma of celebrity. Her time at UCLA turned into an odd combination of science classes with a lot of music and small remnants of her former life. Her degree was delayed by a full year in 1999 when she returned to acting for a single, minor cameo appearance on Step, Music, by Step. She later expressed regret, saying that she had finally discovered her rhythm at school and shattered it to please others. She continued to have a busy life as a student, nevertheless. She wrote music for shows, directed a Jewish a cappella ensemble, and joined UCLA Music, Hillel. She was practicing songs with pals who were unaware of her celebrity while she wasn't in the lab researching hormones or brain chemistry. She clung to it since it was the first time she felt both creative and private at the same time. Her job in neurology was the source of her true interest during those years. She wrote early studies on how oxytocin influences social behavior and bonding because she was captivated by the hormone known as the love molecule. She refused to use her Blossom money, so she worked as a waitress to pay for her tuition. She desired to complete her degree at her own pace. She wrote about hormones in brain cells, carried trays, cleaned dishes, and returned home smelling like kitchens. Even before she realized she would eventually complete a whole PhD on related subjects, her dedication set her apart. She wasn't always steady, though. She was placed on academic probation in 1997 due to undiagnosed ADHD. She found it difficult to concentrate, missed deadlines, and became disoriented in classes that went by too quickly. She considered giving up several times. Rather, she dedicated herself to studying Prader-Willi music syndrome, a rare genetic condition associated with compulsive thoughts and actions. Investigating it helped her create coping music skills since something about the severity of the disorder felt familiar to her disorganized brain. She gradually worked her way out of probation and back into good standing while discovering the close relationship between frustration and brain chemistry. She would carry that knowledge with her for the remainder of her career in science. She earned a bachelor's degree in neuroscience with minors in Jewish and Hebrew studies when she graduated in 2000. She declined offers from Yale and Harvard because she preferred to remain in Los Angeles, close to her family. Her teachers cautioned her that having experience as a teenage actress might damage her reputation, particularly in a business that is controlled by men and where women are already viewed with suspicion. Still, she continued. She received her PhD from UCLA 7 years later. She demonstrated in 2007 that she was both the Blossom Girl and a legitimate scientist, which had never been done before. In 2000, she started her doctoral studies under renowned child psychiatrist Dr. James McCracken. She plunged inside the hypothalamus, a tiny part of the brain that regulates hormones, emotions, and hunger. In an attempt to comprehend why adolescents with Prader-Willi syndrome struggle with intense food cravings and compulsive behaviors, she investigated the behavior of oxytocin and vasopamine. Her research, which was among the first to suggest that aberrant hormone activity could account for some of the behaviors previously attributed to parenting, was presented at significant conferences in 2003 and 2005. Her music research was acknowledged as pioneering by 2007. One of the most demanding music years of her academic career was 2005. While pregnant with her first kid, she immediately returned to the lab after taking a brief break from her studies to appear on Curb Your Enthusiasm. While other researchers slowed down during pregnancy, Mayim continued to work 18-hour workdays and, in her last trimester, was even dissecting rat brains. The lab staff was in disbelief. Because she didn't want to put off her work, she overcame morning sickness, exhaustion, and stress. Early findings were released under her full name once she completed her core research in 2006. Even though everyone else thought it was impossible, that year showed her that parenthood and research could coexist. Everything was explained in detail in her 2007 dissertation. She demonstrated how impaired hypothalamus function affects Prader-Willi children as young as 2. She demonstrated that the biological, music, causes of their hunger, bonding problems, and compulsive thoughts were actually related to abnormalities in oxytocin and vasopressin. Her contributions advanced the discipline and were published in prestigious medical journals. By demonstrating that behavior alone was not the whole story, it altered the way scientists approached treatment. In order to pay for her PhD, she took on modest acting jobs on Seventh Heaven and worked as a teaching assistant. Music, her lab colleagues began to write her off as the actress who tried to pass as a scientist the more she appeared on television. To escape the bias, she published her early papers under pseudonyms. She regained her reputation by 2006, and by then, her art was more powerful than any stereotype. Her experience served as an illustration of the challenges faced by women in STEM fields who bear any additional identity that is not respected by others. She also had a terrifying experience in 2003 when stress from her studies and funding rejections nearly caused her to miscarry. She worried about the survival of her pregnancy for days. Her subsequent career as a mental health advocate was influenced by that fear. These events inspired her books Girling Up and Beyond the Sling. She discussed candidly the emotional toll that attempting to be everything at once takes. Additionally, she advocated for improved assistance for women juggling difficult careers and families by sharing her story. Her life changed drastically once more in 2010 after years of stillness in music and science. When she learned of an audition for a production she had never seen, she had not performed in nearly 10 years. With her actual PhD in neuroscience on her resume, she entered the room. She viewed a brief clip since the casting team wanted a female Sheldon, and it dawned on her that she had spent years in labs with genuine men just like him. With just 6 words in her debut episode, she was cast as Amy Farrah Fowler after matching the cadence of his speech. In May 2010, it was broadcast. Amy immediately gained popularity and was a regular by season 4. Her character had a depth that no one could replicate because of all those years of studying science. She had difficulties behind the scenes that challenged her once more. A significant kissing scene with Jim Parsons was one of the most difficult. She struggled with intimacy on camera following her real-life divorce, and the script was revised over 15 times to ensure her comfort. When the episode ultimately aired in February 2014, Amy and Sheldon's story took a significant shift. It demonstrated how much the program valued the performers who portrayed the characters. After negotiating wage rises with Melissa Rowe in 2017, she was making $450,000 each episode by season 10. To help both ladies get closer to salary equality, the original cast even took a $100,000 pay cut. She also, music, fixed errors in more than 20 episodes and advocated for scientific accuracy. In several episodes, she even incorporated concepts, music, from her doctoral studies. Between 2012 and 2015, she received 4 Emmy nominations. The studio was forced to reconsider how they regarded their performers after she almost quit the program in 2018 over a contract dispute over unequal pay. She persisted until the 2019 finale, but others in Hollywood were motivated to advocate for justice by her stance. She nearly lost a finger in a serious vehicle accident in 2013. She required several surgeries, and during her recuperation, she missed music episodes. Everything Amy touched on the whiteboards remained true since she continued to consult with the science team of the show after her return. On August 31, 2003, she married Michael Stone in Los Angeles. They planned a Victorian-themed wedding with soft lights and vintage details, and he had converted to Judaism on her behalf. Following Mayim and Michael's discreet announcement that they would co-sleep music with their newborns, Friends' expectations of a typical Hollywood love tale were altered. Long before the babies were born, people were whispering about it. After their first son, Miles Elon, was born at home in October 2005, Mayim decided not to take any painkillers. As soon as the story got out, everyone had an opinion about her. She was accused by critics of disregarding medical safety. She maintained her composure and stood by her decision. Frederick, their second son, came home in 2008. Using the neurobiology she had researched for her PhD, Mayim homeschooled both boys throughout their childhood. Every choice she took put her in the public eye, and there was constant debate in Hollywood circles about homeschooling, co-sleeping, and home birth as if it were a national issue. With all the hardship, her marriage started to suffer. After 9 years of dating, Mayim and Michael announced their divorce in November 2012. Irreconcilable conflicts were the reason given. Their opposing parenting philosophies, however, were a significant factor, according to sources. Even though they swiftly reached a custody agreement, Mayim's strictness about her son's food just attracted more attention. She brought them up entirely vegan, avoiding dairy, processed foods, and animal products. It was dubbed slings and nuts by some. Others said her children ate varied snacks at home rather than birthday cake and brought almond milk to celebrations. Deficiencies were a public concern for nutrition specialists. Every supermarket bag becomes a headline thanks to tabloids. Her personal life turned into an unstoppable soap opera. She publicly discussed veganism in 2014 and published a cookbook with over 100 plant-based meals called Mayim's Vegan Table. She urged people to view vegan cuisine as simple, ethical, and healthful. Although her experience on The Big Bang Theory complicated matters, her message quickly gained traction. Behind-the-scenes conflict resulted from her persistent insistence on vegan options, while the cast and crew enjoyed their customary meat-filled music catering. Her dedication was recognized by certain co-workers. Some thought she was exerting too much pressure. Debates broke out online. Whether she was lecturing or motivating, fans disagreed. Despite the cookbook's continued economic success, the discussions surrounding her continued. She shocked everyone once more in 2016 when she, talked about her battles with ADHD and OCD. She claimed that the diagnosis followed her divorce and that, in order to co-parent and control her symptoms, she relied on treatment, structure, and little routines. She had launched Grok Nation Music, a blog titled after a phrase meaning profound comprehension, a year prior in 2015. Unusually honest for a celebrity, she wrote about faith, parenthood, mental health, and personal development. Numerous admirers claimed that her advice inspired them to ultimately pursue therapy. She insisted that having mental awareness was a strength rather than a handicap. There were more turns in her Jeopardy adventure. After Mike Richards departed the program in August 2021, she took over as host. She contributed her own soft, talkative flair while hosting 92 programs. While some people praised her kindness, others felt that the tone was not in line with the show's somber cadence from Alex Speck's time. Some primetime specials saw a roughly 20% decline in ratings. There were rumors that she didn't have the same level of audience connection as Ken Jennings. The inquiries continued even after receiving an Emmy nomination. Sony officially appointed her and Ken as co-hosts in May 2022. Up to the start of the Writer Guild strike in 2023, everything seemed stable. Mayim chose not to cross the picket line and instead left the set in favor of the strike. Executives at Sony were upset, claiming she had responsibilities. Her episodes were taken over by Ken. She declined Sony's subsequent offer of other hosting possibilities. She was only interested in the syndicated version. She was put on the sidelines by that choice. She revealed on Instagram in December 2023 that Sony had fired her as host. An hour later, Sony issued its own statement. Fans were taken aback. Rumors of conflict behind the scenes immediately arose, particularly over her union support. Following her departure, she clarified that stations informed Sony that they valued Ken's dependability. She offered concepts for fresh spin-offs, but Sony decided not to hire her again. Her name vanished from the Jeopardy website by August 2024. She acknowledged that the walkout cost her almost $2 million, forcing her to turn her attention to podcasting. Sony clearly sought distance, as seen by the removal from the website. Her experience demonstrated how it can cost you more than you anticipate to stand up for your beliefs. She ultimately acknowledged that her firing was directly related to her strike walkout in a 2025 podcast. Production had been interrupted, and plans to cross-produce her sitcom Call Me Kat had even been cancelled. She claimed that the encounter made her humble and compelled her to change her job. Despite the consequences, she continued to advocate for labor rights and candidly stated how difficult the experience had been. Her candor made her predicament a lesson for other Hollywood professionals. As the controversies developed, so did her literary career. She and Dr. Jay Gordon released Beyond the Sling in 2012. More than 270 pages of science, tales, and advice from her personal experience were included in the book. In its first year, it sold more than 50,000 music copies, shocking some who thought a celebrity couldn't teach true parenting science. Her accounts of home births and unmedicated childbirths provoked both horror and admiration. She was adored by readers who preferred other strategies. She advocated techniques that were too radical for typical families, according to her detractors. Girling Up, a manual for teenage girls based on neuroscience and her personal recollections from her Blossom music years, was written by her in 2017. She discussed social pressure, body changes, anxiety, and self-image. Boying Up, her 2018 follow-up, focused music on the growth of males. Both texts were used in schools. Tens of thousands of copies were sold. Her candor made science feel personal, according to her parents. She restarted Mayim's Breakdown, her podcast, in 2020. She blended personal, music, experiences with science and mental wellness. The show had over 10 million downloads by 2023. She invited people to discuss their struggles, such as Kristen Bell. People claimed that because of her fragility, difficult subjects, music, were simpler to comprehend. She told fans she needed time to recover after her 2024 Jeopardy exit, pausing the show to collect herself. She encouraged young females to pursue careers in STEM in a 2022 TED presentation. She talked about how girls are held back by silent pressures and mental biases. She collaborated with PETA on vegan Passover music videos in 2025. According to her, choosing compassion aligned with the spirit of liberty, and a vegan diet rescued around 200 animals annually. Her idea was deemed radical by some. She distorted tradition, according to others. In any case, conversation continued. She announced a neuroscience memoir in 2025 that would link her time in Hollywood to her academic, music, expertise and past trauma. She stated that what she saw in a 1994 Woody Allen movie and how it influenced her would be covered in the book. Hollywood was talking about the announcement. It was anticipated that it would rank among the year's most talked about memoirs. Her net worth was approximately $25 million by 2025. Big Bang Theory residuals, book sales exceeding $500,000, and speaking fees as high as $25,000 per event were her sources of income. However, the IRS conducted an unexpected examination of her wellness brand in 2023. They questioned deductions related to organic foods, vegan items, and homeopathic treatments. She almost received a six-figure penalty for the procedure. To survive, she had to renegotiate business contracts and liquidate assets, music. The tale quickly gained traction, demonstrating how even a well-known musical star might fall into debt. Her relationship with UCLA also had a lasting impact. She had been coming to the college since 2010 to give lectures on neuroscience and discuss Prader-Willi syndrome. Over 200 young ladies were mentored by her. According to a 2024 UCLA research, her impact and her role as Amy Farrah Fowler contributed to a 15% music increase in female neuroscience enrollment between 2018 and 2023. She made science feel human, according to the students. When portions of her previous parenting books reappeared in 2024, uproar erupted once more. During a measles outbreak in Southern California, she was accused of encouraging postponed vaccination. In October 2024, she apologized on YouTube, claiming that she had never opposed vaccines but had postponed them for personal reasons years prior. She added that she was unvaccinated as a child and had personally survived a measles scare. Her explanation resulted in a 30% decline in book sales and the cancellation of multiple events due to music. Nevertheless, it sparked fresh discussions about how prominent personalities affect medical choices.